Hello, I am your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor Latricia Booker here with Kingdom Business, where we are empowered. Where we heal, we get delivered, and we get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose and power. And that is the truth of who God has created us to be. Kingdom people, we are. We are history makers. We are world changers. We are dream successors. We are wealth generators. We are manifestors. We are curse breakers. And we most definitely are transformers, more than meets the eye. Yeah, kingdom people, we are. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for viewing my videos. Thank you for the likes, subscribe, shares. Thank you for all your comments and feedback. Thank you for all your financial contributions to my channel and for all the seeds that you sow into me and my ministry. Thank you for all of your purchases and your bookings. Kingdom people, thank you for everything you do here on Kingdom Business. Thank you, Kingdom people. Thank you. So, Kingdom people, you already know what I'm here to do on location. And if you don't know, then now you know. I am here to drop this beat, this word, this message. Yeah. So, Kingdom people, I am the chain breaker, and you are chain breakers too. Are y'all ready to break these chains? Let's go. Kingdom people, you have gotten too big to stay there. You have gotten too big to stay there. So listen, Kingdom people, this has been something that has been on my spirit for a little while. God had just been taking me over the course of my life as far as when I began to really tap into things on a higher level. When I began to get higher understanding as far as who I am, as far as what God had for me, what He had in store for me. I was always this person who wanted more out of life, that wanted to do more, that knew that there was more in me. But of course, I had to grow into it. Kingdom people, you have to grow into who God has created you to be. You have to walk through this journey and through this life. And in many ways, you're figuring things out and or being awakened to, or if you will, you're remembering who you are and you're rising into that. And so you can come across certain information, you come into certain understanding, and it unctions you to level up. And so God was just taking me back to how some years ago, I started to tap into who I am and started to tap into some things that I began to understand on another level. And, it's just all a matter of wanting a different life, coming to a place within yourself that you're ready to level up. You just feel a need and a desire to. So you seek out the certain information and or God bring you to certain information. You walk the journey with God. He teaches you things, you learn things. Well, that's what I did. But this is just a common thing of how it goes. And so you do begin to level up. You begin to raise and lift your spirits, raise your vibration, many will call it. Your energy begins to lighten because you're doing the healing work, you're cleansing, you're getting greater understanding, your perspective is heightening. And so that changes you. And what happens is, Kingdom people, when you are around people that you're familiar with, they can sense that something is happening with you. They can sense that you are heightening, that you are going to new levels. Now, you may not be speaking these things to these people, but you don't have to. And because it's an energetic thing, it's a thing that can be sensed and felt, because everything is energy. Everything is felt. So what happens, Kingdom people, is everyone around you is not on this path, is not where you are. They're not seeking higher understanding. They're not trying to tap into the greater things of God and become who God created them to be at that level, God's way. And therefore, sometimes what can happen is people around you that you're familiar with may begin to want to hinder your growth. They may want to try to stop you from continuing to rise for many different reasons. But the point here is that you have gotten too big to stay there. And so it reminds me of, how sometimes they say people outgrow each other. It does happen. If you're growing and you're doing the work and you're getting this understanding, and let's just say you're in a relationship with someone or a friendship with someone or whatever ship with someone who's not doing that, you can't outgrow them because now you're all the way somewhere else and they still here. Now, everyone doesn't want to do what you're doing. So if they want to keep you in their life or whatever, because sometimes it's just about keeping you, I just heard from manifesting higher, which kind of that's what it is. But so people, unfortunately, don't want you to become who you're becoming, who you really already are, but they don't want you to tap into that, especially if they're not doing that. And if they're not doing it God's way, if they're not following the path that God has for them. Even if they are going after things, status and money and, just trying to gain, in a lustful way, the ways of the world, that's not going about things God's way. So even if they're trying to get to certain things and gain certain things, they're not doing things God's way. And so they don't want you to either. And so what has happened is you've outgrown them. And many times when you've outgrown people, or sometimes it's not even in a relationship, it can be in a vicinity of where you at. It happens a lot. I experience it on a very regular basis where I live and where God places me. I always feel like I was already outgrown of the place where God placed me when I got there. But when you're there, or for me, when I'm here, or when I was there, whatever the case may be, because I'm continuously doing the work, continuing to level up, continually to tap into the things of God and allow God to lead me and walking in his ways and doing what he's telling me to do, I continue to grow and rise higher. So even though I may have not even been necessarily outgrown, or should I say, it's like this. I want to say you have outgrown the place where you live. Sometimes it's not so much you outgrown the place. Yes, you have, but you was already outgrown when you got there. But because you're continuously growing, now it's kind of a problem when you're around people that are not doing it too. Now, don't get this, twisted. God places you there for a reason. God places you in people's lives, in situations, in circumstances, whatever it is, wherever you are. As long as you are on the path that God has you on, he's orchestrating all these events. So you're never somewhere where you shouldn't be, as long as you're following what God is moving you to do. So he places you in these places because you are a light. He has to put out light in dark places so people can be aware and exposed to the light. Now, what they do with it is another thing, but the whole point is that God places you in these places for a reason. He may place you there to help heal certain areas, to help uplift certain people, to just be an example to certain people, to help them to see as something greater so that they too can reach for something greater. Now, unfortunately, as we know, some people just get to acting crazy. We're not talking about that right now. That does happen. But the thing here is that God placed you there. So even when those things begin to happen, God has a purpose for that too. The thing here is this. You can be at a place, be in a relationship, be on a job, whatever it may be, and you're lifting and you're going higher, and people around you, some people around you begin to get agitated because in some instances they feel like they can't grasp they can't do what they see you doing, and or they feel like you have outgrown them or you are beyond them. And many a times that is where the attacks can come in and coming against you come in. When those things begin to happen, not always right away, God will unction you to remove yourself from the premises because you have gotten too big to stay there. I've been in interaction or dialogue with a few people as of recent that speaks about where they live and what's going on and how they might have to move and in certain instances they haven't come to that conclusion yet, but I'm knowing, yeah, that's what's happening. But it's because they have outgrown these places. They have gotten too big to stay there. God is moving them on to something else. And what's been on my spirit lately is Lauren. What's her name? Lauren. She's a well-known choreographer, and in the dance competition show that she had did some years ago, instead of saying you're dismissed or something like that, she would say you're moving on. You are moving on, to give it a positive spin, so people won't feel rejected, but they're moving on to what God has for them next. And so that's really what's happening when things start happening around you because of your growth and your development. God may be moving you out of it, but of course, put these things in its proper perspective. Let the Holy Spirit lead you. Many a times, God is leading you or preparing you for a move that you're getting ready to have to make because you've made your impact there. You've done there what God needs you to do. So He's causing you to move on because it's time for you to move on because you have gotten too big to stay there. You're continuously growing. So God does plant you in places to be that light and that example to others. Again, I keep hearing, and sometimes many of you are healers. So you carry healing within you because you heal yourself. You heal. You allow God to heal you. So you carry healing within you, which makes you a vessel to help other vessels to heal. And so many a times God will place you in places just to send out your healing energy among those around you. And those who can receive it, it does something for them. It helps them. Again, other things may be going on in the environment as well. And when you've gotten too big, and when I say big, I mean in your growth and your development, because you're continually rising, ascending, growing, evolving, because you're continuously doing the inner work, the work that God has put forth for you. You're continually being in communion with God and let Him work in you and do whatever it is He's doing in you. It's causing you to get bigger and bigger spiritually. In your growth, in your expansion of who you are in God. And so you may have gotten too big for where you are. Genesis 26:12-16 says, when Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted for the Lord. For the Lord blessed him. He became a very rich man, and his wealth continued to grow. He acquired so many flocks of sheep and goats and herds of cattle and servants that the Philistines became jealous of him. So the Philistines filled up all the Isaac's wells with dirt. These were the wells that had been dug up for the servants of his father Abraham. Finally, Abimelech ordered Isaac to leave the country. Go somewhere else, he said, for you have become too powerful for us. So, kingdom people, in this passage, Isaac was growing because God was with him. And so the people around him, the Philistines, because he was growing and he was acquiring so much wealth, the flocks and the herd, that was the wealth, a lot of their wealth during those times. They didn't like it. They even stuffed up their wells and their cisterns with dirt because they was hating on them. But God was with them, and he was growing in God, and God was blessing them. And so the Abimelech ordered him to leave, and he said it. He said, go somewhere else. You have become too powerful for us. Over in it also says here that they became jealous. The Philistines became jealous of him. So what happens, kingdom people? You can grow and grow and grow to a point to where people will become jealous of you. You may become too big for them, too great, and God will unction you to leave. Sometimes they want you to leave too. Not always, but well, I'm gonna say this from my personal experience. They might be trying to get rid of you, or they not necessarily trying to get rid of you. They just want to have chaos with you. Sometimes it's more that they want to engage you, but you don't want to engage them because you already know. No, so they resort to chaos with you. You don't play into that either. What happens is while they're doing all of what they're doing, trying to do whatever they're trying to do with you, you end up leaving. Now, I've been asked this question in a situation that I was in previously. The person asked me, are they trying to push you away, get you to leave? And I'm like, you know, the thing is, I knew they were trying to do the opposite. They were trying to pull me in. But what they were really doing was pushing me away. They were pushing me out. Now, I'm saying all that to say this. Sometimes in people's attempt to do whatever they're doing because they're jealous, because they're envious, because you're basically outgrown them, you will leave. God will move you to leave. And then when you leave, now they want you there. Not understanding that their actions pushed you away. But here's the thing. It's okay because you were getting too big for there. You came there again, as I said before. God put you there for a reason. Once you've done what you needed to do there, and God says it's time to go because it's time for you to move on, you will pass on and move into the next thing. But the point here, kingdom people, is this. You have gotten too big to stay there. So trying to stay somewhere where you don't fit, not that you ever fit, but now that God is saying it's time to go, and He's giving you the signs, He's showing you, you have to act on it. What happens when you don't act on it is the situation gets worse. It doesn't get better. God doesn't make things better for you when He's gracing you to move on to somewhere else, and now His grace is elsewhere. If you're still staying there, His grace is not there with you anymore because He already said you have gotten too big for that place. It's time to move on. So if you stay there, it doesn't get better. It gets worse. Furthermore, you miss out on what you're moving on to because of God. Remember, this is a journey. This is a path. And God is leading you down the pathway that is best for you. But you have to follow Him along that path. Where you are, you've outgrown there. You have gotten too big to stay there. Kingdom people, it's time to go. If God is telling you it's time to go, it's time to go. The Abimelech even ordered Isaac. He said, leave. You have become too powerful for us. Sometimes you have become too powerful to stay where you are because you are a leader, because of the call that's on your life. You're not supposed to stay there. You're just passing by. You just remember that song, this place is not my home. Lord, what shall I do? The angels are beckoning me from heaven's open doors, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. It's kind of like you just passing by. It ain't kind of like you passing by. You wasn't there to stay. You on a journey. You got to keep it moving. You have become too powerful for where you are. Move on. You have gotten too big to stay there, kingdom people. So this is the thing. If you're feeling led to remove yourself from a place, a relationship, where you live, a job, a business, an environment, a city, a state, whatever it is for you, you have to act on what God is leading you to do. Kingdom people, you have gotten too big to stay there. When you're on the rise, You have to keep moving. You don't be on a rise and stay in the same place. That's not how this goes. That's not how this goes. And I just want to say, don't concern yourself with, even though we know that this happens, people trying to stop, block up. That's what they gonna do, because that's just what them can do. The idea here is to understand that that means you've gotten too big to stay there. So when you're amongst people that are doing that in your immediate environment, or something like that, people that you've dealt with, that's your indication that you have gotten too big to stay there. You have gotten too powerful for them. So you have to remove yourself from their lives, from the premises, whatever it is, as God leads you, of course. Because you've outgrown that place. You've done what you're supposed to do there. You've learned what you're supposed to learn there. Now kick rocks, no socks. But kingdom people, for real though, listen, it's time to go. You have gotten too big to stay there. You don't belong there anymore. Not that you ever belonged there per se, but God placed you there for his purpose. I just heard it, for his glory. So when God says it's time to go, because now you have elevated, you've done the work that you're supposed to do while you were in that place where he had you, time to go. And I'm just hearing this the same thing with relationships. I wanted to say unfortunately, but God said it ain't unfortunate when that's what I'm doing. Sometimes you was in a relationship. You grew in it. The relationship was there to help you grow, to develop, to do some things. Then it became a thing where it's time to go. And a lot of times, the way you know it's time to go is when things get chaotic. When the person you're in a relationship with becomes your enemy. Those are always signs that, yep, it's either time to go or it's coming. So prepare. But kingdom people, you have gotten too big to stay there. God is saying, time to go. It's time to exit the premises. So, kingdom people, I'm going to let that rest right there. If you like this video and or if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you. Then click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video, something like this from Kingdom People. Also, if you are interested in any of the services that I presently offer, if you are interested in any of the products that I offer, if you are interested in sowing a seed into me and my ministry, you can find all that information right down below in the description box. Also, Kingdom People, check out my podcast. That link is right down below in the description box. The Facebook group for the podcast. If you want to comment or give some feedback or give your perspectives, please join the Facebook group. That link is down below also, down in the description box. And so, yeah, Kingdom People, I really appreciate everything that you do here. I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate all of you who so generously sow seeds into me and my ministry. It is greatly appreciated. And I just demand and declare that your seeds return to you 1,000,000 fold in Jesus' mighty, precious, and holy name. So, Kingdom People, I love you all so very much. Y'all know I don't want to leave you, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my Kingdom People down. With that being said, much love, light, and peace, and many blessings to you all. Kingdom People, listen, above all else, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all things at all times. Kingdom People, that is my time. Jesus girl is out. Peace.